So are you able to see the screen? And a confirmation from anyone, are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. So let's just begin. So welcome to monitoring and evaluation, one of the most and highly demanded skill across the globe and in the present life, okay? So we need to have the skills in communication, in monitoring and evaluation. Yeah, monitoring and evaluation is something that is very, very important to an individual at the individual level and at company level, you know, organizational levels and family levels. Everywhere you go at different levels, you just need this skill in monitoring and evaluation. We can assure you that you're going to enjoy the journey that we have started undertaking today in monitoring and evaluation. So let's quickly dive into it, monitoring and evaluation. So when you look at monitoring and evaluation, it's made up of two words. There is the word monitoring and evaluating or evaluation. So there are two things that you are basically being trained on. You are trained on how to monitor the projects, and you are trained on how to monitor the ventures, the undertakings. You are also trained at the same time on how to evaluate the projects and the undertakings. So these are the two things that you're going to learn on how to do them. So I should be quick to underscore that monitoring and evaluation usually goes hand in hand with project management. So if you haven't done project management, we can recommend that you do project management as well to add flesh to monitoring and evaluation, because you are going to be trained on how to monitor and evaluate the projects. But if you do not have the understanding of project management at the same time, this may not really come out very clear as you may expect it. Right. So what is monitoring? Let's start now with monitoring. Monitoring is a continuous and a systematic process of measuring. These are the things that you're doing. You're measuring and tracking the progress of the project with the aim of providing the main stakeholders with the indications of whether their projects are performing according to the set objective or the set plan. So that is monitoring and evaluation by definition. It's just basically the continuous. Now get these words are key here. The key word is continuous. Monitoring and evaluation is not a once-off thing, right? It is something that is, you know, continuous. You have to continue doing monitoring and evaluation. So it is actually a continuous and it is a systematic process of measuring. So you are there to measure and track the progress of the project. So from the time you set out, you set off, you start running the project. So there will be this process of trying to track the progress of this project, trying to measure the progress of the projects till the end thereof. So that process of tracking the progress or measuring the progress, especially the aim of providing the stakeholders with the indication of whether the project is going according to the plan, is what is called monitoring and evaluation. Any question? Is there any question from anyone? Okay. So in monitoring and evaluation, we track the inputs, right? We track the inputs, we track the activities, and we track the output of the project or programs in order to determine whether the project is progressing towards delivering the intended results. That is what we are doing. So now, why is it important to monitor? Is it important to monitor the projects? Yes. Monitoring projects, it's very, very important, and we need to know how to monitor the projects. Why is it important? Right. So it is important to monitor the projects, number one, in order to help improve on the program's performance. Okay. We monitor to track whether the program is progressing towards the intended goal. We monitor for accountability purposes, and we monitor so that we can evaluate the inputs. Right. Zeroing in now. In order to understand, all right, or help in improving the program performance, we have to monitor. We have to monitor, because the way how the activities can be set, they can be set in such a way that they have to, as the activities are moving, right, as you are progressing in your monitoring and evaluation process, you set out, like you start your project right now. So as you start the project right now, there are those activities that you have said that you're going to be doing. So it is important for you to track time again and again, checking, comparing whether what you're doing right now is actually according to the strategy that you set, or the activities that you outlined at the beginning of the project. That can only be done through monitoring. Even at personal level, right? At personal level as the individuals, you realize that when you set a goal, you set a goal that you want to achieve something, then the goal comes with the strategy, right? There is a strategy. So now, coming or starting up that goal with a strategy, that strategy actually is there for you to do what? To give you an action plan, okay? So the strategy is there to give you an action plan, to show you whether you are progressing in the right direction. So because a strategy is actually an action plan that should guide you on what you are supposed to do. So you have to be checking what you say that you're going to be doing for you to achieve the goal, and you compare that with what you are doing at the moment. That is why you need to monitor. You need to monitor so that you can see whether the program is growing or is moving towards what you agreed that that should be the intended goal. Or you also monitor so that you can just get to be accountable. That's very, very important, to monitor for accountability purposes. Any question on the reasons as why we monitor? Is there any question?
No question.
Okay. So now that there is no question, we can look at the question, what is it that we are monitoring, right? We said it is important that we monitor, then what is it that we are monitoring, right? Okay, so we monitor the inputs, right? We monitor the inputs, the human resource, the staff, the funds, the supplies. Those are the things that we are monitoring. We monitor the activities, the training staff, the construction facilities, and the sensitization program. So these are some of the main things that we actually at monitoring, right? So I'll repeat that. Number one, we monitor the inputs. So monitoring the inputs simply means that we are monitoring the human resource, right? The human resource, that's labor. Labor is an input. We monitor all the activities that are done around training the staff, constructing maybe a facility, or sensitizing the people, or sensitizing the community. So when you are actually doing all that you are doing, that is called what? Monitoring. Any question? Okay. So, and again, at the same time, we monitor the output. These are the things that we are monitoring. We monitor the output, the direct products of the project activities are called the outputs. Usually these hinge around the knowledge of network access points, the availability of the products, right? So these are usually the outputs. We are saying the direct products of the projects or a project activities are actually the knowledge of network access points and the availability of the products. So the outputs have to be monitored. The outcomes, which actually hinge around the behavioral change or change in the trend, is actually, these are some of the things that we actually monitor. So we monitor the output, we monitor the outcome, we monitor the activities, and we monitor the inputs. Now that we have known the things that we monitor, it is extremely important that we also look at, it is important that we can look at evaluation of non-monitoring, but we also need to look at evaluation, right? So what is evaluation? So evaluation is basically a systematic process of determining the worth or the value of the project's intervention, right? The systematic process of determining the value of a project intervention is what is called evaluation. Okay, so evaluation actually aims at determining, it does aim at determining the relevance, the impact, the effectiveness, efficiency, and sustainability of interventions, and focuses on the achieved and expected goals. That's the main aim of evaluation. It is aiming at determining the impact, right? What is the impact of our actions? What is the effectiveness of the strategy, right? What is the efficiency of the strategy and the sustainability of the strategy that we have carried on so that we can get the expected results? Maybe one of the things that we should speak to is the concept around the difference between effectiveness and efficiency, right? Maybe I may, let me try to ask the class, what would you say is the difference? What do you think the difference could be between effectiveness and efficiency? Are they the same? Mike, what could be the difference? Effectiveness. We need to understand the meanings of these words, very important. What is effectiveness and what is efficiency? You cannot be a good monitoring and evaluator without understanding the difference. So let's start by understanding the difference. Mary, what do you think on the effectiveness and the efficiency, the differences between the two?
The differences between the two, when we're talking about being effective, would say effectiveness is about the results that you produce after the work is done whatsoever, but the results is what we're talking about when we're looking at you being effective. And then efficiency is talking about no matter what you're doing, you look at reducing the costs and then you increase the benefit. So are you optimizing in whatsoever you're doing? Are you working at your best in such a way that the cost, no matter what, is lower than the benefit that you're getting? That's what I would say.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. So basically, when you are looking at the effectiveness, you are looking at the ability of you gaining the desired results. Okay, it's just about you getting the desired results. So do you have that ability to get the desired results? So your ability to get the desired results is what is called the is actually what is called the effectiveness, right? So when you can just, when you can be able to get the desired results. All right. Okay. So are you able to get the desired results? That is effectiveness. So it doesn't matter on the level of inputs that you have just employed, okay? You can even employ as much inputs as possible. It does not matter. As long as you have gotten the desired results, that's the key thing here that we concentrate on. However, when you're looking at effectiveness, efficiency is about getting the desired results using the minimum possible amount of inputs, okay? It's about how much are we putting in to get the desired results. So now, our focus when we are being efficient is to minimize the inputs. We don't want to spend too much, but we should not compromise with the quality of the output that we produce. Okay, I would give you an example of someone who is maybe who is working in the carpentry industry where they are making, maybe they're making tables or something. So there is that whole log, the whole log that they use to get the planks to make maybe that table. You find that someone using just this same size of a log will make maybe 2 tables, right? Then someone will just make only 1 table from this one because the other things will just go out as waste, right? The other materials will, other part of material will just be wasted, making mistakes, breaking and throwing other things. So that person who has just used the minimum amount of the inputs is the one who is being efficient, right? So we are encouraged to be both efficient and effective at the same time. Use the minimum amount of resources, but get or produce the desired results. Is that clear? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. If that is clear, then we are okay. Then why is it important to evaluate? This is the question that we are answering now. Is it important to evaluate? We have said it is important to monitor for those reasons that I've given, okay? But is it important to evaluate? So number one, we evaluate in order to acquire more knowledge and widen applicability, right? We evaluate to acquire more knowledge. We evaluate, okay, in order to determine the accountability for the program, to assess the extent to which results are being achieved in order to improve the intervention. These are some of the main reasons as to why we evaluate. So we evaluate so that we can determine accountability levels, okay, on the undertaking that we have. We evaluate to assess the extent to which the results are being achieved in order to improve the intervention too. So those are some of the main reasons as to why we do evaluate. All right. Now, what is it that we are supposed to evaluate? What is there to evaluate, right? What is evaluated? We, number one, evaluate the relevance, right? The effectiveness, efficiency, and sustainability. So we evaluate the relevance, right? Is this thing or is this undertaking that we have started, is this project that we are doing relevant to the objectives of the company or of the organization? Is it still relevant? I should be quick to underscore to you that the relevance of the project usually does change from time to time, because sometimes you may find that undertaking what you're doing is relevant in the meantime and true to the company objectives, but with passage of time, that stops being highly relevant. Okay, it becomes obsolescent. It's no longer useful to the business. So we are evaluating time again and again so that we can check the level of the relevancy. Is it still relevant? So that if it's no longer relevant to continue doing that, we can stop it as quickly as possible. And like you continue on the undertaking that is no longer relevant to the goal, it may take you even a lot of time to do that until you reach to the end. After the end of it all, you discover or realize that what you were doing actually is indeed not relevant to the goal, to the goals or objectives of the business or of the organization. We evaluate for effectiveness to check our ability to get the desired results. We evaluate to check how much of inputs we are putting in for efficiency sake. And we evaluate for sustainability sake to check, okay, is this really indeed sustainable, right? Is the project that we are undertaking still sustainable? So these are basically some of the reasons of the things that we evaluate. We evaluate the sustainability, efficiency, effectiveness, and indeed the relevance. Let's look at the types of evaluation now. What could be some of the types of evaluation? Number one, here you pay attention now. Number one, there is what is called the baseline evaluation. Now, with the baseline evaluation, it's basically an assessment that is conducted before an intervention or before the undertaking of the project. It is actually implemented in order to provide information which helps in determining what changes are affected by the intervention, and it gives a clear status of the project or of the population, right? That is what it does, the baseline evaluation. It is indeed very important to evaluate so that we can get more information just to determine the changes that are made or that are affected by the intervention. So we are evaluating the impact of the undertaking that we have on the project. Does it have any impact? Right. We do evaluate, okay? There is what is known as the formative project appraisal, formative evaluation or project appraisal. Now, with the project appraisal, is when you conduct an assessment before or while the project is in progress. Okay, it is a developmental, actually, process-oriented evaluation aimed at improving the project's performance. Right. So with this one, the formative one, it is done during the project or just before the project starts when you're laying the plan. So the assessment procedure is conducted by an employee during the working hours in order to improve on the employee. For example, that's an example. Let's take, for example, you're conducting an assessment, right? As an employee during the working hours in order to just improve on the employer's work conditions or the company. We want to assess. We want to assess. That's just one of the example. So during the working hours when you conduct, like the process or the activities are ongoing, then you are checking there and then. That's formative evaluation. The activities is ongoing and you are checking. That is formative evaluation. There is what is known as the midterm evaluation, which is the third type of evaluation. It is actually indeed the assessment of the effectiveness and efficiency of the program while it is ongoing. It is very vital in decision making and taking into account the lessons learned through the experience. So we want to understand what lessons have we learned along the process of this project. okay, what changes can we make in advance or in time before we can find ourselves heading the wrong direction. So when you're trying to do that, that's actually midterm, but most of the times the formative is done before the project has started. You make a plan, you start, you do the evaluation just right at the beginning. The process is running, you do the midterm assessment, and at the end of it all, you do what is known as summative, okay, or the end of project, or the closing as evaluation. Now, the closing evaluation is an assessment that is conducted at the end of the what? At the end of the project. The project has ended, right? Now that our project has ended, we need to evaluate. And this kind of evaluation, it does focus on the outcome of the project. Our focus is on the outcome. What is it that we have gotten? Okay, how has the project ended? Have we achieved what we wanted? Right. There is what is called the ex post evaluation. This is an assessment that is conducted after a period, okay, the completion of the project. The project has ended, and after it has ended, you take into consideration the effectiveness and the sustainability of the project. So there is again further evaluation that you take way after the project was already ended. That is called ex post evaluation. And there is what is known as impact outcome evaluation. Now, with the impact outcome evaluation, this is indeed conducted to assess the effectiveness of the programs of intervention. It does look at the impact, the results of the program, that is just based on the intervention, right? So most of the times it does give solutions to the cause and effect questions, such as what would have been the results if the intervention was not undertaken. That's the impact or outcome evaluation. We want to study the cause and effect. What would have happened if indeed we had not headed this direction? Now, what are some of the tools that we use in monitoring and evaluation? Before I reach that far, do I have any question from anyone? Is there any question? Is there any question on the different types of evaluation?
No question. No.
Okay. All right. Assuming that the silence means everything is well, we can now look at the tools that are used in monitoring and evaluation. What are some of the tools that you need to use as a monitoring and evaluator of the project? Number one, you use field visitation most of the times. You can use document review. You use the consultations from the stakeholders, direct observation, biophysical measurement, case studies, and formal surveys. Right. These are basically the tools that you use when you're doing monitoring and evaluation. The field visitation, field work. This is when you're conducting some field work, when you're going out in the field to check the impact of the policy, you go into the field, right? That's one of the tools actually that you use when you're doing monitoring and evaluation. You use field work to check the impact. At the same time, you can use a document review. I've already said that you can review the documents. This is where people are given maybe something like a questionnaire, okay? A questionnaire, questions are asked, then people start answering and their responses are recorded, okay? Then you see you go through the outcomes, or you go through the responses that people have indeed given. There is also where you observe you just directly observe the impact, like without asking anyone, without going into the field. You can manage also to extract some insights. Though all this is just based on it is based on the type of the information that you want to get, right? So sometimes you may say, no, I want to do, it doesn't really mean that these are interchangeable. Like you can use whichever you want. No, it depends on the information that you have and the project that you are undertaking. So you choose the tool that is relevant. As we are drawing closer to towards the end of the conversation for today, we can look at the terminologies that we use in monitoring and evaluation. So most of the goals, the terms that we use, number one, they hinge around or they include number one, goal, right? Which is actually a broad statement that helps in guiding the development of the project. It can either be long-term goal, it can be short-term, it can be medium-term, and it does indeed express the general intervention of the project. For example, you can have a goal of training, the monitoring and evaluation, in the team, right? You have that goal to train the team, or you can just have a lot of goals as a business or as an organization. You have a goal to train all the staffs. You want them to be trained in a certain field. You want them to have a certain skill. That's a goal. So you plan, okay? You plan right now. Start monitoring the progress, okay, of the project. You plan before you start the project. How is it going to be done? And after you have planned how it is going to be done, and then the project has started running, the people are invited, everything has been put in place, and those people that you want to train have come for the training, and the training has started, right? That's the whole project. Till the training ends, the training has ended, then what comes after the training? You also need to evaluate how is how is the training going on? Right. Are we moving in the right direction? At the end of it all, have we really achieved what we wanted to achieve in this training? Have people gotten the right knowledge that they needed to get? Have they really understood, and are they able to apply this thing that they have learned in the real life? So that's the whole idea. If they didn't or they haven't, why? Okay. Why are they unable to do this? Okay, what corrective measures can we take? Those questions are asked along the movement of the project and at the end of the project. Okay, so it is based on the things that you have said right at the beginning of the project. At the beginning of the project, you say, we are going to do this, 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 this. Then when to do this, we are going to carry out these activities. So the actions that we're going to be doing are these, right? So when you start the project, in between the project, you're going to be checking, are we really moving in the right direction? Are we doing the actions that we said we're going to be doing? That's called now monitoring. You are checking and comparing. At the same time, you're comparing the findings at the same time. When you compare the findings, that's evaluating. You're moving. And at the end of the project, again, you check, okay, the project has ended. Wow. How has it ended? Has it ended as planned, right? If it has not, why? Okay, if it has ended as we planned, that's a good thing that it has ended as the plan, as we had planned. Okay, now that it has ended, it ended as planned, right? What is it that we are supposed to do as individuals, right? Ask yourself the questions. Okay, have the people gotten the right knowledge? And even afterwards, there is what we call the ex post evaluation. That's where after the training, we would want to see the impact now as people get to work. Then we'd want to refer to, oh, okay, people have really improved. Maybe after 1 year, there was that training we conducted that people should get this skill. Then our staffs improved right because of that skill that they have gained, that they did gain. So you do that after some time again. So time again and again, you have to evaluate to monitor and indeed evaluate afterwards the impact of the things that you're doing. Right. We also have got the goals that the goals are said to be indeed that they are supposed to follow the acronyms SMART. So our goals are supposed to be SMART. That entails that they are supposed to be specific, they are supposed to be specific, they are supposed to be measurable, they are supposed to be achievable, appropriate, they are supposed to be realistic, and indeed they are supposed to be time-based. Those are SMART goals. Now, what does it mean to set a specific goal? This is a goal that can easily be identified with the concrete events or the actions that will take place, right? A specific goal is not a goal where you say, you can't easily measure, right? It's so vague. A goal is supposed to be indeed specific. Be specific on what you want. For example, you cannot say, we want to be rich. Like, what do you mean by being rich? Like, be specific. There should be concrete definitions. For example, what are the indicators that you're going to use? Because there should be indicators that should be telling you that, okay, we have come closer to this goal. So there should be some specific things that you can easily perceive with your goals that you can actually manage to relate with. The specific. That's what we mean by specificity. The goals should be measurable. You have to be able to quantify the amount of resources, activities, or the change that should be expended and achieved. A goal should be measurable. I already said that you should be able to monitor and evaluate, right? How do you monitor if your goal is not measurable? Because your goal should be able to show, there should be indicators here, right? On measuring. The indicators that should be telling you how far, how far you are from the goal. Like, are you really moving in the right direction? So if you don't have, your goal is not measurable, there is no need of monitoring and evaluating then. Okay, you can see that the idea of monitoring and evaluation, it starts way back from the goal that has been set. So check indeed, are we moving in the right direction? That is actually based on the measurability of the goal. Are we able to measure it? The goal is supposed to be appropriate, that is relevant, objective to the project. It should indeed be relevant. That is to say, the goals should be aligned to the projects that we have, okay? It should be able to logically relate to the overall program statement and the desired effects of the program. That's attainability of the goal. It should indeed be attainable. The goal should be realistic. That is to say, the goal, it just needs to be, okay, be real when you're setting goals, right? Sometimes you find that people set those huge goals and they're really unreal, where they just say, I want to have this, but when you examine the action plan, it's just something that is impossible. We indeed believe, we know that there are miracles, but here in monitoring and evaluation, we don't teach you miracles. We teach you the realities of life, the real things, okay? Where we should not say that things happen abruptly without the plan, okay? So what it means is that when you are setting your goal, it should really be realistic, right? But it should be able to stretch you a bit so that you feel a little bit challenged. But again, it should be well defined enough so that you are able to achieve it. Not setting the goal that is not realistic. It should be time-based, meaning there should be a deadline to every goal. You cannot just say, I want to have this when, okay? So indeed, there should be a specific time when your goal is supposed to do what? To have its maturity. Having said all these things, is there any question? Hello? Okay. People do not have any question. Maria, do you have any question? All right.